Mona Abdul Manap, CEO of Place Borneo. Mona is the founder and CEO of Place Borneo Sdn Bhd, a professional conference organizer, PCO, based in Kuching with offices in Kuala Lumpur and Kota Kinabalu. Their specialties are organizing conferences, music festivals, public relations, and producing publications. Mona believes in hard work, such as work that involves high integrity and honesty. A balanced life is also her aim, although she can be a workaholic at times herself. When she's not working, she loves to do bird watching, carpentry, and drawing or sketching. She is also a fitness enthusiast and believes in eating healthy and exercising regularly. She practices yoga daily and runs regularly. So, are we able to have Mona online? Hey, Mona.
Hi, Malcolm. Yeah.
Hi. So,
Is my voice clear?
yes,
Yeah.
you're all good, and you may share a little bit more about yourself, and you can carry on
Okay.
your sharing from there.
All right. So I'm just gonna share my screen, just so you guys have some visuals to see. Okay. So hi guys. I think you guys had a quite a long morning already, and mine will be quite a short sharing of my experience at work. A bit about my uni life, and I understand that a lot of you are students or just about to end your studies. And I was here for Olivia's session, and I thought that a lot of the things that I might be saying could overlap with hers. And I think it overlaps with a lot of other people as well. As Malcolm has mentioned, I'm with Place Borneo Sdn Bhd. We're a conference organizer. And let me just change. Yep. So that's a bit on the next slide now. If you guys can see this, my background is I did marketing and management in Curtin University and then MBA in entrepreneurship. So obviously I'm an entrepreneur now. So I did that while I was working in KL. So just a run through of my experiences, because later on when I'm talking about some of the tips that I may be sharing with you is based on the work that I've done. So after finishing Form 6, I was actually a substitute English teacher for Form 2 and Form 4 in SMK Green Road. That was my school before. So being a teacher in high school is one of the one was the hardest things I've done, and I didn't enjoy it because the students were really tough to handle. And I was a young person then, and I'm quite short, I'm quite small, so I looked more like them than like a teacher. And then I also did waitressing and cashiering. So this was during uni years in Australia. And at the same time, I did two jobs. So I was also working in a cafe as a muffin maker. So I made muffins for them and cakes. And I was waitressing for them as well. So it's a really small cafe. So I was the only worker there. And then I also did broadband sales. So I did door to door. So that means you go, this was in Australia, so that these things are pretty common. And the houses don't have fences. So you can just walk up, knock on the door, and then tell them what you're selling. So obviously that's really, really tough. And usually it's done in a very olden days. They sell, insurance, they sell things, physical things. And like what Olivia said, encyclopedias, that's what they used to do. So I was doing broadband sales in Australia, and that was tough as well. When I graduated, I came back and got a job in RHB Bank in Kuala Lumpur. So that was my first experience in the corporate world. And then I found that being a young lady, in a corporate world is quite tough. In fact, maybe it was my experience, but I think it is just the nature of our culture or community that we can be deemed as the weaker sex, and also perhaps the more gentle or milder and easier to influence. So that's what I felt when I first started working, and how I observed the other ladies were working. But of course, there were very successful lady bosses that I worked with, even in RHB. And some of my tips that I'm giving are actually based also on what they were practicing themselves. After that, I came back to Kuching, and I was managing a travel agent. So that was actually something I did. And then we expanded and we had a resort. It was called Aiman Batangai Resort in Batangai. So it was previously Hilton Batangai, if you guys are familiar with that. So we were managing the resort as well. And then eventually I started Place Borneo. It's a professional conference organizer. So from banking, I came into tourism, and from a corporate world, now I'm in my own business. And well, it's slightly different, but there's a lot of things that you could actually learn. Now, in the corporate world, what I felt when I was in there, and also some of the other jobs that I did, these some of the things that I felt was to my advantage was my English proficiency, and because we are not an English speaking community in Malaysia, it's not the first language, and because of that, a lot of people will sort of look up to people who have slightly better English. And because English is something that's universal, that you need that for emails, and especially if you have international clients. So when you do have slightly better English than someone else, you may be deemed as, slightly as a one up from another candidate or someone else. So that was my one up. So it doesn't have to be English proficiency for you, but it could also be Bahasa. So if you're fantastic at Bahasa, but you have to make that to your advantage. So that was for me, and also because I was an English teacher. So in RHP, when I first started, they found out that I could really write really well. So a lot of the reports or the proposal papers came to me. So what Olivia said actually resonated very well with me, because she said, don't make yourself indispensable. So make yourself needed. Be so well that your boss actually needs you and can't live without you technically in the working world. And that's what I did, because they needed me to check on their papers and their proposals. So I became a bit indispensable, at least in my department, in my division. So that was quite useful. The next one was work ethics. So myself, I'm very conscientious, and I'm quite organized. Well, obviously now I'm a conference organizer because of that. So I really could manage things well. And because I could manage my time well and my work well, I could do more in a shorter period of time. So then again, it leads to that being indispensable to your boss and to your colleagues. Being conscientious means you do work as if your life depended on it, and like what Olivia said just now, you give your 110%. You don't do things or as a by the way kind of thing. So when you accept something, make sure you're gonna produce the best that you can. And what I found out was I will always find out if there was anything more that I could do when I'm given something. And also, it relates to what I guess all the speakers would have mentioned, is communication. So I was not shy to ask when I was not sure what I was supposed to do. So sometimes they give you instructions without very clear details of what the instructions entail. So I would ask, am I supposed to be doing it this way? So sometimes our understanding and other people's understanding could be different. We were all brought up differently. So people might have a different idea of what you can do or what you should be doing, and you have a different idea of what they ask you to do. So I found that by asking, by checking all the time what you should be doing, or along the way, if you're going in the right direction. So this is something perhaps in uni, we didn't really have that opportunity. You can't just go up to your professor all the time. But at work, we should be doing that because it saves you time. So halfway through, when you check with your boss, and then your boss will say, no, that's not what I wanted. So you could actually just go back and start a new one, instead of finishing everything and then find out that it was actually the wrong thing, and that's not what they wanted in the first place. So that's what I found. We should always communicate and ask questions when you're not sure. Again, keep abreast with issues. Read. So that was for me. I'm a heavy reader, so I read books, I read novels, I read articles, I watch videos online, on Facebook, on Instagram, anything. I'm just an absorber. So because of that, I know a lot of things, especially current issues that are happening, any new trends that are coming up. I'm on Twitter, and Twitter is actually quite a fast-paced platform where people discuss current dramas or current issues in the market, and current viral issues, I would say. So then when you know about these things, you can actually talk about them. So this is not just for work, this is also about your personal development. And when you meet people, it's easier for you to network. So that's what Olivia said. One more thing that's important is for you to network. And that's exactly my next point as well. So make strong professional connections and friendships wherever you work or wherever you go. And that means to be as the best person as you can when you are with them, as a colleague, as a boss, as a subordinate, as anyone. So make the best strong professional connections and friendships, because what I found out was the people that I worked with, even in Australia as a waitress, even in RHB, after so many years, I actually still go back to them. Some of them become my clients. Some of them become my suppliers, and some of them will become friends. So you never know when, because in life you cannot survive on your own. And especially if you're going to go into business, you will need a lot of help as much as you can. And if you're going to work for people, if you're going to work for someone, which is also, and you need to develop your career, you also need a lot of these connections, because these people might be helpful to your career. They might be your future bosses. You never know. They might be your future supplier, you never know, or sponsor for any of your events if you're an event organizer like myself. So these are the things that I found worked for me when I went into the corporate world, or during my, any of my side jobs that I did. But what I'm saying here is you should find things that work for you. So it doesn't have to be the same communication, knowledge, English proficiency. It doesn't have to be all these, because these are things that work for me. But find things that work for you and develop them. So this is where I come into my next one, which is the 3 key considerations I feel are very important that you should keep in mind and try to develop. And so the first one is have a personal USP. So I'm a marketing person. So USP is a marketing term and marketing concept. It's the unique selling proposition. What's good about you that people should choose you? So if the USP of a product is what sets it apart from all the other products in the market. So what's the difference between this laptop and the other laptop in the shop? So that's the USP. So work on your USP. So mine were those things that I mentioned earlier. So English proficiency was one of my USPs. You could have a few. My work ethics could be my USP. So it doesn't have to be the same. Or if you think that one of those things could work for you as well, then develop it. There's nothing that you can do that you can learn, actually. You think that, there's a lot of things are inborn, or she's lucky because she was born like that. Doesn't work that way. Everything is learned. So then I go on to my next one, which is, and I think Olivia mentioned this, you never ever stop learning, unlearning, and relearning. Because, and especially when you're going to business, and this thing I learned as well during the MCO, was that we had to really adapt to the changing, doing things virtual, having virtual conferences, virtual events, and we had no experience whatsoever before this. So what we had to do was really learn how to use Zoom to do our webinars, to actually run a full-blown conference on a PC like this, and you guys attending at home, and how to actually engage people at home and make them feel, like they're enjoying the session and not bored. So in your personal life as well, so if you see have a personal USP at the top, that's more on your career, more on your working, life. So that's where you sell yourself to your boss, your future boss, or if you're a business, to sell to your business partner, to your sponsor. But the second one, never stop learning, is more about you developing yourself and also about your career, because when you learn more, you actually learn what you should be doing better at work, in your line of work. And the third one, this is Paul McCartney from the Beatles. I'm sure probably half of you don't know, maybe more. This is way an old school band, the Beatles. And what he says is, the love you take is equal to the love you make. So what this means is you have to give back to the world for you to actually take back. So the more you give back, the more you can actually take from the world, because the world is as best as what you give to it. So that's where I think, again, I actually heard this during Olivia's session. You actually have to do good in this world. And this, so the first one was for your career, for your work, for your business. The second one is for both, for yourself, personal development, and also for your career. The third one is for your spiritual development. When you do good and when you give to the world, when you give to your community, when you give to others, it actually makes you feel better spiritually. So it is not a tangible thing or a tangible feeling that you can pinpoint, but it is something that makes you have a lot of self-worth, and it makes you feel good about your existence in this world. So this is something that you cannot identify and you say, yes, I kind of feel it now. No, you can't feel it exactly like that. But the more you do it, it just makes you feel more confident about yourself. And that in a way actually helps with all the other things. It helps with your personal self, the way you carry yourself, the way you wear your wonderful clothes. It just looks good because you feel good about yourself. So this is the part I feel like your spiritual development is very important. Yes, you should be looking for a job that feeds your passion. You should work in a good job with a good boss. You should develop yourself, but you should also develop your spiritual self. Don't just think about the world, think about your internal health, your mental health, and your spiritual health. So these are three of the things that I felt important for me. And I guess these are things that got me from where I was and to where I am right now. And in fact, I've just actually begun to give back to the world by joining the Rotary Club. And that's something I do as a community work. So we do a lot of projects. So I haven't actually been involved in associations. I never quite believed in it, doing community work. I'll just give, some token when you come across people on the roadside and stuff. So I never quite actually gave myself. But then lately, maybe because I have enough money right now to share, I have a bit of time to share. So I go into it. And in fact, yes, I wish that I actually started earlier. So you could actually do that as well, even before you start working or just as you start working. So yeah, so mine is quite short, and that's what I felt helped me, and I felt that it could help you as well. And I didn't put in here, but I also had quite a few mentors in life, but they were actually my parents. They're both in business. And my circle of friends are people who are very motivated and very, I would say, gung-ho in what they do. So that sort of rubbed off on me as well. And you should surround yourself with people like that, or just a few of them in your life is also good enough. And if you don't have them, this is something I learned as well. If you don't have a good mentor, some people are not lucky enough to have good people around them for some reason. You could read books, and you can actually learn about these people, and actually think of them as your mentor, even if you're not actually talking to them, if you know what I mean. So I read books on Paul McCartney because I felt like he was actually one of the most established musicians in life. And I was just so amazed at how he does and how he goes through life. So I read his books and I felt like, I could, he was like a mentor through his books and through his words. So you could do that with yourself if you don't have the opportunity to have a real life mentor to talk to. So you could have, but right now it's easier with LinkedIn and Facebook. You can actually connect with them online. So yeah, so if you have any questions, or if you wanna talk to me about advice or anything, or if you have internship at the company or something, you can email me. We also have a website, faceborneo.com.